Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain, co-host here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
Well, it's another football week, Coach. It is playoff football in Oklahoma. My team is out of it, but I am in typical analyst fashion, finding ways to stay involved, more so this year than other years. But yeah, it's good.
It's
Hi. That's what you said last week. Hello.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not doing anything. I keep wanting to. So Friday night we had a event, and an event that included free childcare. So while we had dinner and drinks, so
Okay.
that was going to win out over freezing our butts off in the stands of some school that I know nothing about.
Right.
But my son keeps asking about football, and so Saturday we had two options. There were two games on Saturday. There's actually U of R, but I've never been to a game at U of R at that stadium, so I don't know what it's like. Probably could have pulled it off, but I was single dadding it for the weekend. My wife was out of town doing a sisters retreat thing, so real sisters, not like her sorority or something from 20 years ago.
Right.
40 years ago. That's being in trouble. So we had a state championship, the private school state championship, and I that was probably going to be tough to get in and out of. And then Randolph-Macon was playing the game, which is a huge rivalry against Hampton-Sydney. And that is almost impossible. You can't even we would have to park a mile and a half away. Ashland doesn't have enough parking for that. And plus everybody who parks is setting up the tailgate. And that ended up being a kind of a blowout. So Benedictine did win the state title for private schools here in Virginia. Randolph-Macon did win the game. So we are set for, I think, a first-round playoff game against John Carroll, and that'll probably be played by now. And then if we win that, we get to go play Mountain Union. That's your reward.
And they're still good, right? Isn't that the Purple
Yeah,
Raiders or whatever?
they're not. I don't think they're not like steamrolling everybody, but yeah.
That's players over plays coach, right? Mount Union, Purple Raiders.
Karras was the coach. I don't know who it is now. I think it's still. I don't know if it's changed. I think it was a family thing for a while.
All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, Mount Union is just loaded. And my understanding, this is my uneducated understanding, so somebody correct me. My understanding is that Division III in Wisconsin and Wisconsin's loaded. Every Wisconsin Whitewater, Wisconsin Lacrosse, Wisconsin, but they're all ranked. They're all apparently very good. Division III is not the same all over. Ohio, because where Mount Union is, because they have basically the entire MAC conference up there, they get a lot of bounce backs, and they have different academic requirements than what we have in the ODAC. The Old Dominion Athletic Conference Randolph-Macon is by no means the Harvard of the South, but higher academic requirements. They can't. Maybe they can now. I don't know. When I was there, they could pull some strings, but you weren't getting in unless you met certain requirements. And certainly Washington and Lee and schools like that are not like that. So I think it's different in that there's a little bit more opportunity for bringing kids in, like bounce back type stuff, and getting kids that way.
Gotcha.
Plus they're bigger. They're much bigger schools too, by the way. They're much bigger schools.
Larry Kurz, I assume is how you say that.
It's Karras. I think it's Karras. I've been to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why.
Larry Karras. Yeah, I've been to clinic talks with him. Very good, clinic speaker at least.
He's the one that says players over plays or players not plays or whatever his little statement was. Anyway,
is that a new? Did he make that up?
It sounded like because he was there from 86 2012 and Henry, a long time. But there was a quarterback or a coach. I think it's a coach. Is it Sean McVay?
He's a coach and a quarterback, I think.
I mean, that played for him. One of the guys that's in the NFL, whether a coach or a quarterback now, played for him, and that's kind of what they took with them. And I think it was a coach, and their coaching philosophy was
maybe
players, not plays. Anyway,
I think London Fletcher. They have like 7 like we have like 7 NFL players.
Yeah,
that made it into a practice squad or something. Like they have like 7 like Hall of Famers or something crazy like that, or like legit NFL players for a Division III school. It's just outrageous.
His son took over in 2013 and was
that's what. Okay,
like just as good as him.
Yeah, Well, I mean, I
95
think
and 6.
I think he's probably a very, very good football coach, but also I think that they have I mean, look, when I was a head coach and I had a kid who was getting a lot of D2 offers as a linebacker. He ended up being the long snapper for Virginia Tech, scholarship at Virginia Tech. But he got lots and lots of D2 offers. He got a little bit of, as a linebacker. I mean, he was a good size, 6'2", 215, 220 type kid. But wasn't super fast. He was our tight end as well, though, so he was athletic. He was getting some walk-on FCS type stuff. Virginia Tech offered him as a walk-on long snapper. I mean, he grew up a Virginia Tech fan. He got a lot of D2 scholarship offers, very good D2 scholarship offers. But the one that I was like, listen, you do one of two things. He got an offer to Mount Union, and I was like, you do one of two things. You either go to Mount Union and you get to play on ESPN eventually at the end of the year, or you go to Virginia Tech because you've always wanted to go to Virginia Tech. And I don't care what you do, but you want my advice.
That's it.
Which he did, by the way. I wasn't forcing this on him. I said, this is one of two things. You go win national championships at Mountain Union. And I don't know if they've, I don't know if you want to win one. I don't know what their last few, but play on ESPN, be it one of the best programs in the country, or you go be a long time. And I think he made a great choice. But,
Good. Let's talk Power Minute now. Just a moment as we get into our episode here. We're talking about fixing run game struggles. Title here, I'm sure y'all read, was We Can't Run the Ball Consistently. We're going to talk about the timing of a run play and how you can work within that to make your run plays hit better, adjusting your existing run plays to break out, kind of figuring out what you're missing about the things you're already using. Essentially, we don't need to go install a bunch more stuff. And then increasing yards per carry without giving out NIL money, which we both kind of laughed at as we reread back through those, because we've been pretty hard on NIL on the show, but it's coming and it's got a big head of steam in Oklahoma right now. It's the next big thing. So I just saw Bixby, who already has 11 out of 12 or something, has started a NIL thing. And that is I knew somebody would start, and that was the first team in Oklahoma that has created the infrastructure to get kids paid. So of course they've pulled it off. So yeah, anyway, but we're going to increase yards per carry without giving out that NIL money. Last week, we talked about our team lacks leadership on the field. It was a super good episode about leadership and what it is and what it isn't. Sometimes you need to learn that too, what leadership isn't, and kind of where you can go to learn about it. Next week, we're going to talk about we get killed by the screen game. Yep, so does everyone else. That's why the screen game stays around. We're going to give you some ways to alleviate some of those big screen game plays. Before we get into today's episode, do a quick favor. Think of the coach that you call when you have a football question or you need to have a football conversation, and send this episode to them, or the last one, or the next one. That's how we kind of keep good ideas moving, spread the kind of common sense football, coach simple, play fast, win mentality. All periods on those. Joe, let's pay the bills and we'll move on.
Had it up
guard again.
And then then it went away. Yeah. Okay. The difference between a defense that wins championships and one that gives up big plays every Friday night isn't talent, it's the system. If you do not have a real system in place, you spend every week chasing problems. Your players are confused, your coaches aren't aligned, and your defense is reacting instead of attacking. I've worked with over 10,000 football coaches, and the biggest mistake that I see is overcomplicating the game, running a stack of plays that don't work with each other, front stunts, blitzes, and coverages with no real plan behind it. But when you install a true defensive system, everything changes. Your players play faster, your coaches call with confidence, and you start winning football games. That's why I created my free guide, What You Need to Know to Build the Ultimate Defensive Football Coaching System. It gives you the blueprint to simplify your defense, get your players to buy in, and take control of the game. You can grab a free copy now at footballdefense.com and start building your ultimate defensive system today. You can get that free copy at footballdefense.com.
It is a great time for you to get on board with Athletic Speed Movement. Athletic Speed Movement, we all know that speed wins games. The real question is, are you fast enough? Speed changes everything. It turns average plays into touchdowns and good players into game breakers. But here's the truth. Real speed isn't just natural, it's trained. At Athletic Speed Movement, we show athletes how to get faster, quicker, and more explosive using proven methods that translate directly to the field on game night. Our system was built by Del Basquette, who's done it at the highest levels. He was the very first speed coach in the NFL, and it works for all athletes at every level on the way down. My kids will be starting Athletic Speed Movement this spring. A
I'm getting on
4-year-old
mine.
and an 8-year-old,
I got
7-year-old.
a 3-year-old about to start doing it.
Yeah, and they're doing it because my 7-year-old needs the help. My 4-year-old probably
My
outruns.
3-year-old keeps coming in last in gym class warm-up laps.
We're not having that.
I ain't having it.
Not in this house. So whether you're a coach looking to elevate your team or a parent wanting to give your athlete an edge or your non-athlete some athleticism, this is where speed starts. Go to athleticspeedmovement.com and learn how to build real speed that shows up on game day and in gym class. Don't just play the game, outrun it. Awesome.
My kid's big, he's like 99th percentile. So I'm watching all these teams on like Saturday and Sunday. Had a flashback, fellas. Listen.
Let's go.
Had a flashback. Okay. This is the central region of Virginia. And freaking New England Patriots run truck toss with Morgan Moses from Meadowbrook High School and Travion Henderson from Hopewell High School behind him. And Morgan Moses trucks somebody. I watched that over and over in 2006 and 2007. And then thankfully I was in Amelia and then out of coaching for a little bit when Travion Henderson was winning state championships, but I saw the film and I had a moment. I had to step outside for a minute, just kind of breathe because Morgan Moses absolutely murdered my sophomore outside linebacker in our 3-5-3 defense back there. And I didn't know if he was ever going to play football again. Coach, what do I do? Cut him. Just cut him.
I don't know.
And just collapse. And don't even cut him. Just collapse into a pile. You have no options. You're 160 pounds. Morgan Moses coming out there. And so that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, if my son's going to be big, he's going to pull like Morgan Moses.
That's what I'm talking about. But to start playing.
There's always Commanders fans around. There's always things about Morgan. One of the nicest people I've ever, who could be as mean as he wants, but very, very nice, large gentleman too. And my son is going to be, I hope that he is Morgan Moses. I hope he's big and athletic and has a long, long NFL career.
Yes, 100%.
That'd be nice too.
There we go. All right, let's jump into part one here, Joe. We're talking about understanding and coaching the timing of a run play. And we spoke of this a few times on the show, especially if we started kind of attacking these problems the last 2 seasons. And timing of a run play is something that people don't understand. All right. We yell at our backs to get downhill faster, hit the line hard. Don't dance around back there. There's a lot of coaching cues that get used to try to improve our run game. But the fact of the matter is, regardless if you're a zone guy or a gap scheme guy, there is a time and place for the back to hit every single run play. So let's start there with guys that are struggling to run the ball. How can they look at the timing and kind of start working to improve that?
Something that I really crystallized putting together the Football Coaching 101 series, and specifically the second part of that was Football Coaching Mastery, which is all about the second phase of that is all about understanding the playbook overall. So it's a 6-module. There's 3 different sections, but the Football Coaching Mastery section has 6 modules in it, one of which is run plays. And so there's run plays, there's pass plays. I think there's some on pass protection, if I remember right. I'm just off the top of my head. And then there's run fits, pass coverage, all the, how all these things blitzes, how all of this works in your playbook at a level that most coaches don't understand. See, most coaches, you talk players, not plays. I talk a lot about plays, not players. Players, not plays. Yeah. Anyway, principles, not plays. Okay. The underlying, the things that are true of everything, the things that are true of umbrella run fits. I don't care if you're a 3-4, 4-2-5, a 5-2. I don't care what you want to call it, a 4-3. There's this underlying run fits principle. And there are several of them out there, and I haven't found one simpler than what we teach in the umbrella run fits. So, that's for the defensive side. That's the principles, not plays, not any of that. When we talk about the run game and the offense, there are principles as well. And one of the number one principles, one of the most important principles, and maybe the single beyond Coach Simple And beyond what we talk about with an offensive playbook of having a feature play and building around that and attacking the weaknesses that are created by that feature play, the next big thing is minimize the amount of time your offensive line has to stay engaged in a block. Build everything around your offensive line. If you're the offensive line coach, your number one job is not to coach the offensive line. Well, it is to coach the offensive line. Your number one job off the field is to go to the coordinator and the head coach and advocate for your offensive line and say, it's you're yelling at my guys or you want my guys to block somebody. And I don't need to block somebody because we're a 165-pound guard out there. He needs to get in the way of somebody. You need to get by him while he's still in the way. Or he needs to get in the way and get run over slowly in pass protection. You need to get the ball out because he's 165 pounds. And if you time it right, he can do everything you want him to do by taking the right first two steps and staying in the way long enough. And when you go too long, that becomes on you. So if you don't have an offensive line that can stay in the way long enough to run 5-step, you should run 3-step. And in your run game, there's the old the thing that people got hung up on was Alex Gibbs, who's a fantastic coach, who is, as far as I know, never coached a high school 165-pound offensive lineman. He might have a long time ago. I have no idea. I'm saying the Alex Gibbs that you know was coaching zone football in the 1980s, and he was coaching Terrell Davis, and he's been coaching, who recently had a birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Terrell Davis. He was coaching zone football in the 90s with the Broncos, I mean, with everybody, but with, the Broncos was where Terrell Davis, that really got famous. That video got kind of introduced zone concepts to a lot of people. And he had that kind of slow to the hole mentality teaching, slow to the hole and then burst, slow then go type thing, right? I don't remember the wording of it, but that doesn't work with your 165-pound guard.
Right.
Because slow, he doesn't have slow in his arsenal. He has to learn to use every advantage that he has. And so he has to use, now you can still hit a zone cutback, but you've got to be, the zone cutback's got to be like the guy that he's the cutback guy, and that guy's really crashing hard and he just down blocks him out of the way. That opens up the zone cutback for it. So what we talk about with this is universally, your rule needs to be across all plays. And again, principles, not plays. Every single play this is true of. How do you minimize the amount of time that your players need to stay engaged in the block? Your offensive linemen, particularly, and your H-backs and your Ys, your primary blockers. And so when you do that, all of a sudden everybody becomes a better blocker because they don't have to block for that long. Everybody can get in the way for a second. Just take the right first two steps. And so now the principle becomes first two steps. I mean, the offensive line principles are all built around this. Keep it simple, only run a few plays. Two blocking schemes, maximize your blocking schemes, create different looks around them, but really the offensive line is just running a couple plays that all look different to the offense or to the defense and minimize the amount of time they have to stay engaged in the block. So how do you do that? Well, the alignment of the backfield becomes critical. The footwork of the backfield becomes critical, which is something that people don't pay attention to. Alignment, a lot of it. So when you run inside zone and you're in pistol and your quarterback standing at 4.5 yards. See, this is why one of the reasons timing is better under center and your offensive line will be better under center is because the back doesn't stand at 9 yards. He'll never get there. But when you go into pistol, the back all of a sudden stands 3 yards, 4 yards behind the quarterback. He's at 8, 9 yards back there. Takes him forever to get to the line of scrimmage. Forever. You hear announcers on Saturday, Sunday. Well, the hole opened up and then it closed. Well, that wasn't a great play by the defense. That was bad timing by the offense because they should have been there when the hole. If I'm the offensive line, I'm turning around and going, "I made you a hole. Where were you?" This is not easy. Those guys are making millions and millions and millions of dollars
Does not
to
allow us to do
make
this.
a hole between 11 animals standing over there for any amount of time is a feat of great importance. And you weren't there to see it, or you saw it from a distance. And
3
that's
yards
a
back.
you problem. I did my job. There
It's
was a
you
hole.
problem. I love it.
So the timing of your offensive play, if the offensive line is not staying engaged in the block long enough, if the offensive line is not finishing their blocks, et cetera, all the things that people, stay on your blocks, that is a coaching issue. You want them to sit. Do you want them to stay on their blocks? Absolutely. You want them to finish their blocks. You want to put those guys in the sidelines. You want to put them in the ground. You want to get the knockdowns. You want to get the finishes. You want to get the pancakes, all of that sort of stuff. That's physicality. That's mentality. That is leaning on your opponent. That is wearing your opponent out. That is taking control of a game. But the success of a run play is the timing of that run play. And you open a hole and you get through it. It doesn't need to be a big hole because the other side is really good. If you want to beat good teams, you're going to have to do that. When I say good teams, I mean teams that are as good as you.
We're talking about just the opening of the hole timing here, but there's so much more going on too, right? Like when you get down the field, I mean, how many times have you seen a simple power counter that hits and that safety hasn't gotten across yet? So yeah, you hit the seam and then there's not a second level to contend with yet.
Mhm.
They haven't got there, right? Their alley player just isn't. He's still confirming his reads and maybe he had an RPO to contend with, and now you're off to the races. Versus sometimes you find that little cutback or just enough of a hole to get through because you were there late, but it doesn't matter because the second and third level guys waiting on you. So the timing really all over the field, that kind of that matters. I love watching Coach Kadudi, and I don't know where he is in Texas now. I've forgotten. He calls it the mothership. I know that. That's his hashtag. Anyway, I love watching him coach inside or zone football, period, because he teaches that patience, and you can listen to him on film, and he's done a clinic for when we did the Sulphur Clinic a couple of years ago, and he's just like, man, you just got to coach those running backs to look. There's no hole there. I get that. Run at those fat guys, and eventually the seed
Be
will
there when
part,
it opens. Yeah.
and then you just got to be patient. You got to stick your head in there. It will open, and then you can just walk right through. And it's so much fun watching him coach that. Obviously, I'm more of a gap scheme guy. I think it's what I'm better at coaching. But it doesn't matter. Like you said, when you talk about principles, you've got to hit that just right. So outside of you kind of talked about alignment. You got into footwork, and you said people don't pay enough attention there. How can we change our footwork to make timing fit? And I understand that people are in pistol, people are in gun, people are all over the place. But how can we change the footwork? Like, what footwork do we need to be utilizing to add or subtract time on these plays?
Seems like guys just get in a gun and say, stand next to the quarterback, and they run a play. I was like, yeah, I'll always get there. And I remember things like Jerry Campbell, just teaching like 1 by 1, 1 yard by 1 yard, and opening up, and they kind of open up in this beautiful like little hinge for zone read, and that's thought about. Bill Mountjoy taught power and counter, and our offense in the pistol power offense, power counter, inside zone, outside zone, is such a beautiful system. And Bill put so much thought and learned so much from so many people and then shared it with so many people. How the footwork and the timing in the backfield work. See, in an inside zone, we lateral step and then we're attacking the hip of the guard. right? We're basically downhill from there. And in an outside zone, we're opening to the hip of the tight end. Now, I started teaching everybody to open to the hip of the tight end every time. So on inside zone, we would kind of bucket to the hip of the tight end and then go downhill.
Right.
On an outside zone, we would bucket to the hip of the tight end and then 1, 2, 3 steps. Now he's about the second step. He's taking the handoff. 2, 3. And at that point, the blocking scheme has made their combos. They've made the decision of whether I'm going to knock this guy off and make the reach, or if I'm going to have to climb because he's overplaying to the outside. And what that does is on the third step, he can read now. Am I going to continue on my path through the hip of the tight end? There's no bounce in outside zone, by the way. It's an off tackle play. I'm going to continue through the tight end area where I started, or am I going to cut it back? I mean, when I cut it back, that just means put a foot in the ground and go north, which means basically go inside of the tight end, tackle area. And yeah, everybody can move. Barry talks about it can cut all the way back to a gap. It's like, yeah, but where that is where the tackle was because everybody's moving. It doesn't cut back that way. And he makes that step. And on the third step, he makes the decision. And on the fifth step, he makes the cut. That's detail. On the third step, he makes the decision. On the fifth step, he makes the cut. Why? Because he can make the decision on the third, but he has time to take 2 more steps to continue setting up the defense if the cutback is there. So the last 2 steps, remember, if he's on a track, those last 2 steps, that 4 and 5 step, he's just continuing on if he's made the decision to go. But when he's cutting it back, he doesn't make the cut until the 5th step because he knows he's got the timing for 2 more steps to set them up just a little bit more to make the cut. In the power counter game, and remember, all of those we opened drop step at the hip of the tight end, the direction the play was going. In the power counter game, we always power and counter because you have a full offensive set. So power and counter, we always drop step to the hip of the tight end backside, then cross over and take the handoff front side. And what happens is because the quarterback on those zone runs, the quarterback opens play side. So on an inside zone, the quarterback opens play side. On an outside zone, the quarterback opens play side, and he has to get there. He has to be moving. On the outsides, on the power and the counter, he is opening backside and reverse pivoting, and we make him show ball. And so if you freeze it on the first step, second step, you see inside zone left, and he comes around, and as he comes around, as he finishes his pivot, he gives the ball on the counter step to the back, and the back is now heading at his aiming point, the hip of the guard to the right. We showed inside zone in the backfield. So if you're reading backfield, everything was inside zone left. Now it's power right or counter right. The counter part comes in with the H back, not the backfield. And so then we set that up. And now the reason for that is 1, we showed you inside zone left, but 2, it gave time for the guard to skip pull and be there. And so when we take it, we're about 2 steps behind the guard. And what happens is the H back hits his kick out block. My H back's 160 pounds. He's kicking out a defensive end who's 240. Okay. Run your feet out of the hole. All that sort of stuff is great. Get by him quick. Get by him quick. He's got to have the right angle, the right position, upfield number. He's going to attack play side number on the inside number. Play side number to backside number. It's just like his own block. Bam, play side number to backside number. He kicks him out. He turns him like a door, and we're by him. We're coming right when that kick out block hits. Boom, we're right behind him because our guard has just turned the corner, and we can. I love to have a hand on the hip of the guard as we go through. I mean, that's the best because then I can just cut off of him. Because where my cut is not outside because I have an unblocked overhang safety out there. My cut is at the same time the wheelbacker is stepped up. My combo has come off and taken care of the wheelbacker, and I cut inside, and there's nobody but the safety, and he's fitting for an outside alley. That's timing of a run play. and footwork of a run play and all of those things working together. And if your system doesn't have that detail, then you should go to joedanielfootball.com. Take it.
I can remember growing up, and I always knew counter plays because I remember one back specifically at a kind of a rival high school that, man, he would flash his whole shoulders and everything, and then bam, he was coming right back downhill. But they didn't do that for power. They did do it for counter. And I've seen that be pretty successful for us because on power, yeah, we're waiting on that guard to get around, but the kick and the down block generally lets our back have enough. I mean, we need the guard. I'm not going to say we don't need the guard, but we don't double team the front side. So we're just blocking down all, we're basically gap down backering it. And so he can kind of fit whatever gap. We don't really need him to get outside of the play side guard. He can get around the center and go. But when we start using counter and we're big GT and super counter, G8, like we want to run all that stuff, it takes a long time to get 3 guys over there to kick and wrap 2 or wrap 3. It takes a long time. So those counter steps are super important. And it's not, and I mean, I assume it does throw off the defense a little bit, selling the outside plays, but there's 3 chubby dudes that are running the wrong way for it to be outside zone over there.
Yeah, well, I
But
mean,
more than anything, it's the timing that we have to have, right? We've got to let those guys have time to get over there. And when we get away from doing that, we do some other stuff, some other alignments and mess with mesh points. But you can see it does pull down our success at the line because sure, we're breaking tendencies, we're showing different mesh points, but we're running in the back of guards who haven't made the turn yet. Hogging it is what we like to call that. Hand on the guard. Should be hogging it. Hog it up in there. But putting a hand on the guard who's made the turn is a heck of a lot different than putting your helmet on the side when you ear hole your own lineman because he hasn't had time. You start to see where those issues come up. So that counter step is super important. If you're not using it, that may be why. If you're trying to run both of them like power, it's just not going to be there.
You see so much of guard of defensive linemen working to cross face those down blocks and stuff. And like I can't do a perfect down block where he can't do that.
Yeah.
Unless he's just completely out of control. If he's under control, if he decides to read it, I've only got a second of that down block that I can hold him. And if you're late, it's you're going to get hit in the backfield or whatever. And it's not to say that you can't do, you mentioned when we start doing different stuff, that's not to say that you can't do different things in the backfield. Sometimes we want the quarterback to run counter and it's like, okay, we want the quarterback. So we had a great play last year where the quarterback would fake a toss. We never ran this toss, by the way. The quarterback would fake a toss to the running back coming out of the backfield. And then he would fake the toss and then follow the guard on
100%.
counter. And it was a great play for us. Number one, we never ran the toss that way. But the toss, the timing, it was not, hey, fake a toss and then follow him. It was, this is how long it takes. The teaching of this was, this is how long it takes. So we ended up having to take 2 steps in the direction of the toss, like pitch, almost like an option quarterback pitch, taking 2 steps that way so that he could then get behind the puller with the perfect timing. And when you do this, different guys are at different speeds. We only ran it with that quarterback. No other quarterback was successful with it. We had 3 of them, unfortunately. No other quarterback was ever successful with that because no other quarterback had the timing built for them. The play was built for this kid and he learned the timing. And so when you stuck another kid out there and he's like, okay, doesn't work.
Or the steps just weren't right.
But so if you're going to when you start window dressing, you have to be on the timing.
Yeah. Let's jump into our second part here, Joe's. And
we're just on the second part? All right, let's go.
How to adjust your existing run plays to break out. And so really we covered a ton of it right there, right? Is like adjust it by getting the time, making sure you're not hitting there too early, getting there too late. What are some other ways that we can adjust what we're doing right now to ensure that these plays are going to be more efficient? And actually, I want to start here because I know you'll have a good one and I'll forget mine.
Sure.
I think number one, you've got to I think we're getting out of that mentality of we just do what we do and we make the other team have an answer or whatever, right? Like, I think now more than ever, kid or guys are game planning these run plays. I don't care if you just want to run power, like you've always run power, but we have to read a little bit more about what the defense is trying to do to take it away and make sure that our scheme fits that. Now, that doesn't have to be chaotic. Blocking rules, number one, just answers all those questions for you. So you don't have to get up there and teach something different each week, but you've self-baked in the answers no matter what the defense is trying to do theoretically. If you're going to be a buck sweep team, maybe they're trying to blitz the gaps that you're leaving, and so you've got to have another answer, right? Your blocking rules probably cover that. If you're trying to be a power team, you probably have all the answers built in with something as simple as gap down backer or whatever your double team is up front. Once again, we haven't ever been a true
that simple.
Do what?
I wish all the gap school teams had that figured out.
Oh yeah. So I think you have to have a game plan that defeats what they're doing. I think different plays are going to hit better against different fronts. I know you used to talk about basically the bubble side and you called it condensed and something
red and white side.
Red and white side, right? So it could be as simple as
reduced
that.
And wide, yeah.
Understanding which plays hit better against the bubble, if it's B gap or A gap, your red and white sides. But guys may load the ball. I mean, I've seen more conversation this year in all the group chats and stuff I'm in about trying to run the bear defense, and like people want to get 5, 6, 7 kids on the line. Like, I don't know what it is about. I know the NFL's kind of getting back in the phone booth, but now it kind of seems like high school guys are as well, and we're seeing the defenses try to answer that, and so we're having to relearn all of these old school defensive fronts to kind of take stuff away. Anyway, I think that was all I had. I'm pretty sure I had another one, but I'll figure it out later. So that's why I wanted to go first. I already forgot the one, and I went first, so should have made more notes. Anyway, how do you adjust the existing run plays you have to kind of get them to break out and be more efficient?
Yeah, I mean, the things we talked about with the alignment, the depth of the back, the width of the back, obviously are huge. The alignment of the quarterback and the footwork of the quarterback are huge, and that goes into the center. So if you are in gun and your center snaps are all over the place, it really hurts the timing of your run plays. Think of every snap that is a foot this way and a foot that way as an extra step. You're one step behind the blocking scheme. I mean, if you know the snaps are going to be inaccurate, then maybe you should adjust the depth and width of the back and the footwork to match up with that. I don't know.
Make a bad snap a good snap.
But when you're in pistol and gun, if the snaps are inaccurate, it's an extra step. And that's why the timing of the run play under center, assuming that you work under center a lot. And by the way, this is true of passing as well. The timing will always be better. I know a lot of kids aren't comfortable because of the way that we play 7-on-7 and everything. A lot of kids aren't comfortable throwing from under center, but the timing will always be better if they learn it. It's just hard to get kids to just really buy into the passing it's easier to get them to, play action and roll and all that sort of stuff, and you'll still have good timing. But if you look at your play action timing, it's always better under center. You should do all of your play action under center just for timing, because you're going to get the right backfield timing and everything's going to time, and the quarterback's going to move right, and he's not going to feel stuck like he does on a 3-step drop. So there's that element of adjusting the alignment of both the running back and the quarterback. Things like kick out blocks, adjusting the alignment of your H-back if he's going to be kicking out. And then we get into the offensive line, and it's not just on the backfield. The timing of the offensive line blocks. If a kid is taking a year and a half to get through skip pull steps, work his skip pull, or don't skip pull him, or find a way that he can get around there faster, even though his shoulders aren't in the perfect angle. If he gets there faster, okay. Alignment, we've had Tony DeMeo on the podcast talking about smart splits, and this very common thing now, but Tony was the one who kind of coined the smart splits. If he needs to get there faster, like if I got a guard that needs to pull a lot, line up a little deeper and a little tighter, and Maybe they'll see it. Maybe they won't. I don't know. I don't want you to just play with your, play in a 2-point stance instead of a 3-point stance, that kind of stuff. But that's a little too obvious. But I see it. I see teams doing it because you're problem solving and you're like, well, this worked. So it won't next week if your team opponent has film, but okay.
OU Alabama, we just saw that, right? They did you see the fake check with me, and then they did a pass play from this position?
Yeah.
It was awesome.
They've been very creative this year. You're happy about that now.
I am happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't have mentioned it if
I still would have probably talked about it. I still love football, even though I
Alabama's
don't have to worry about that.
Alabama's done some fun stuff this year, but the problem is that they're not peaking at the right time like Georgia is. So we'll see how that turns out. If we have another 8 overtime game with Georgia Tech, I'll take that back. You work on the offensive line, and that's where you get into the individuals of your offensive line footwork and the mentality of your offensive line and your offensive line communication. Am I confident? Where am I going to wait? Where am I hesitating? We talk about loading the feet, meaning that if I know I've got to step with my right foot, we talk about with our offensive line, we always talk about gain ground with the first step, gain ground to get where you're going. The first step is critical. The first 2 steps are everything in offensive line play, everything. We've got a course that was previously called the Undersized Offensive Line Survival Guide. It's not available right now because I don't like that name. Because it's not about surviving. And it works for big guys too. But first 2 steps, critical. Communication, critical. All of these things. And so you go with your offensive line and you hammer that bird walk drill. You work first 2 steps, first 2 steps, first 2 steps. You work communication. You focus on these things. And then you work adjusting, smart splits. What do you need to do to get to where you need to be at the right time? And we'll sacrifice a lot. We'll sacrifice a lot for the timing of that play. We can do so many things behind your 1 foot split reduction. We can do so many things behind that they'll never notice it. We can run back and forth and flip around and all that sort of stuff. What I need is these 5 guys, these 7 guys, depending on their blocking scheme, to be in the position to make their blocks. And I need the guy getting the ball and the guy taking the snap to get there at the right time, that I put these guys in the position to make their blocks as fast as possible and my guys to be right behind them, or as slow as possible. It can be very slow. Remember, timing matters. Timing matters on truck toss. On truck toss, we are pulling our tackle to kick the corner. Okay. It takes time to get there. It's not a quick hitting play. It's not. I love watching the dead tee and those dead tee teams where there's 19 guys within 3 inches of the football and they run an inside trap and you have no chance if you take even the slightest wrong step of your 3-tech spilling that thing. None. If he doesn't hammer the down block, he has no chance. I love that. That is timing. If you want to see what timing looks like, that is why those teams are kicking your tail. Okay. And that is why I'm going to probably be spending most of my offseason figuring out how to stop those teams. That's the one hole that we have. We figured out double wing. We haven't figured out the dead tee stuff yet. So that's our offseason. So you guys, if they're in Michigan, call
coming
me.
for you.
Tell me, no, not coming for you. Well, the ones that run that, yes. But you guys are in Michigan and know somebody who can stop it. Call me when you talk. But that's still timing. You hit that alley at the time when he runs that corner over. Like the number of times that I see it hitting too fast because the back doesn't take the right path and the tackle doesn't take the right path and he outruns the tackle. It's not because the tackle's too slow. It's a timing play. It's a timing play. He's not getting enough width first, and it's screwing up the play. So there's timing on all of these plays. The offensive line has timing elements. The receivers have timing elements. What are the receivers doing to help you? Are they selling a vertical route? Are they blocking the corner? Like, are they blocking the safety? We'll tell block the safety, block the safety, block the safety. And the guy goes a missile. Bam! He hits the safety. Ball isn't even out of the quarterback's hand. Safety gets up, makes the tackle.
Right.
Like, Steve Spurrier Jr. gave a clinic talk one time. It was the first time I'd ever heard. He was the receivers coach for South Carolina. He knew the head coach. That's how he got the job. It was Steve Spurrier. Steve Spurrier Jr. gave a clinic talk, and he talked about, and I'm sure other people do this, but he talked about teaching his receivers to block. And they had a walk off, a jog off, and a run off. And that was their release for run. They had 3 different levels of run blocking. And if it was a walk-off, it's because I'm going to get to this guy walking. It's going to look like I'm taking a play off, and then I'm just going to be there and be in his way, and the ball's around me. And then there's a jog off where I get there a little bit slower. So it's not always, and that's hard, by the way, in high school, because we're just trying to get them to understand you need to block sometimes. The ball's not being thrown to you doesn't mean you're off. But and that was timing of the run play for the receiver. So there's so many ways that you can affect and impact a play with timing, with a walk off, a jog off, and run off, with alignment adjustments by the offensive line, with focusing on the first two steps, with gaining ground on the first step, with the alignment of the back, with the alignment of the quarterback, under center, pistol, gun, with the alignment of the back, how far, we kind of get lax on those things of how far behind the quarterback, where are you, what's that landmark look like? All of those things are very, very, very important levers that you can pull to fix the timing of your run plays.
I don't want to dabble too long here, but I'm big into the protect your base ideology that Cameron has taught me, and he did take from the Bixby guys, Tyler Snyder. But do more with the guys who are just going to run off and hit a safety anyway. You talked about those wide receivers. Use motions, use shifts, use formations. Look, everybody from tight end or H-back. Now, if you're like Joe and you're in 12P all the time, those guys are pretty much locked into it. You can bounce them around, though. They can shift and move to get where they need to be to perform, right? But, we're a big 11P team. From tight end to the other tackle, they don't really have to do anything.
You don't see my H-backs. I wouldn't call that 12. By the way, do you know that Oscar Delp and both Georgia tight ends, Delp and Lucky, are considered H-backs in the NFL? We have no tight ends, apparently. We have all the best tight ends. I guess Brock Bowers would be the same way. I don't know.
Are you call it 21 if it's an H-back? Do you call him a tailback?
I don't give a crap. He's our H-back.
Okay. Anyway,
I can't get into that.
I feel you.
I don't know.
If you've got guys that are on the O-line, you don't have to change what they're doing at all. But with everyone else, ensue chaos. We're huge on that. Who we're handing the ball to may change. We variant GT counter with the wrap guy being a wide receiver in motion, with the kick guy being a wide receiver in motion. You can mix things up. You don't have to run these plays the same way that your grandfather ran these plays. There's nothing wrong with that. Do that. But if you're struggling to get over the hill, if you start fixing the other things first,
I would learn how to do that first, by the way. And then
I think that a good run game is what makes the protect your base stuff work that much better.
Yes.
If you can't go out and run power, no one gives a crap that you ran a fake jet sweep behind it. They don't care. But if power hits even average, now you add that and you move the eyes of a backer, it hits a little bit better. Now you trade a tight end H-back across and then run it. Now it hits even better. But I do think that's ways that you can take your old plays that you're already running and not change anything about the core play, the core concept, and you can get a lot more mileage out of it, just window dressing.
Yes.
All right, let's get in this last part, and it may be quite a bit shorter, but find ways to increase the yards per carry without giving out NIL money. NIL money aside, it's kind of a good joke, but how are we taking our base run plays or our run game in general now and increasing our yards per carry, getting more mileage out of the same stuff, except for everything we just said?
It's part of everything it's been mentioned, but I think it's important to pull out and talk about. So the number one is the receivers that we talked about. The difference between an 8-yard gain and a 20-yard gain is your receivers blocking. Because that is the thing that nobody sees, is that if your receiver is just in the way at 8 yards, especially with the way so many free safeties play, how many free safeties do we see and how many coaches that are in JDFB are just trying to get their free safety to not play over top, but play downhill through the alley and run that banana instead of running that umbrella, not the umbrella, the over top path. And they make a tackle for 8 yards instead of 3 yards. Well, what if you blocked him trying to make the tackle for 8 yards? Now it becomes a 15, 20-yard play. So that's one. Two is the blocking angles and the cuts of your backs on the inside. So, and I mentioned that before already. Our aiming point, just to give you an example, the tight end against a 4-2 defense, 4-4, 4-2, I really don't care, 4-2 box, 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers. You call everybody else whatever the frick you want. Call them 6-2, you can call them 4-4. It really doesn't freaking matter to me. I got 4 down linemen, and then I got 2 linebackers. So in that case, with a 3 technique, so I have a guard tackle combo. There's nobody lined up in C gap. There might be somebody in a 6 tech over top of him, but I can get inside of that guy. My job, if there's what we call a bear combo, B gap combo, my job as the tight end is to block A gap area, which is usually backside linebacker. The only case it's not the backside linebacker is the backside linebacker blitzed and somebody else replaced him. So he's going to the A gap area. And his aiming point is the backside number. And see, again, this is detail that we got from Bill Mountjoy. I don't hear that many people talk about. His aiming point is backside number. My wrapping guard, his aiming point on the front side linebacker is backside number. And all of that matters. And my back gets told a million times, the money's inside, the money's inside, the money's inside. If you go outside, there's an unblocked safety out there. I don't block, by the way, we talk about blocking the safety, and yeah, we run a 4-2-5, and we call that guy the strong safety. Let's just be really basic and say it's cover 3, and he's 5x5 in our 4-2-5 defense. Okay. My receiver that's blocking the safety is passing that guy up. I'm talking about the free safety because we're cutting inside of that guy. That guy's not making the play. Okay. We're going to the free safety. And so when I make that cut, I get an aggressive, first of all, we get block the inside number of the Mike linebacker, no problem. The Will linebacker is aggressive, scraping over the top, and my tight end blocks his inside number, A gap area. And the cut happens behind the backside linebacker who is over pursued. And that's where it goes from a 4-yard gain to a 40-yard gain, because then we blocked the free safety. And maybe you got a corner because we're not blocking him, so maybe he gets there. But so it's the downfield blocking the receivers. And if you're stalking the corners, you're just kind of wasting it because we shouldn't be out there. You're just kind of wasting them. Stalking the corners is kind of wasting them. Just
run an RPO if you're going to do that.
I don't care.
Run a route. You might pick up
run
guys, right? Yeah, you might actually drag that safety
Stalk blocking the corners on inside runs is just a waste. It's just a waste. That's not his job. Go block somebody whose job is to stop.
100%.
That's one of the things that makes our defenses successful is the fact that the free safety is so often unblocked because receivers are just out there stalk blocking the corners. I want both receivers to go block the free safety. So think about those things. Who do I need to block to turn this from a 4-yard to an 8-yard? And then who do I need to block to turn it from an 8-yard to a 25, 30, 40-yard? And that's, for years, we had 2 different kids in far separate times, about 6 years apart. They were kind of the same kid. They were short, and they were, 4'9", 4'8", 4'9", 4'8" on a good day, wind aided, 4'9", 40 speed, but tough kids. One was a little chubby black kid, one was a little chubby white kid, but they were the same kid. Good kid. One of them might be in jail. The other one was a good kid. The thing about them both was they always got 4 yards. And the guy who tackled them always knew he'd been there. They brought it, but they were 4 yards. And I remember I tell a story of one of them in a playoff game finally hitting the power, the money's inside, cutting it back inside of an overflowing Will linebacker, breaking out into the open, and then turning around because he assumed somebody had blown a whistle or something, and they ran him down for about a 28-yard gain or something like that. Because he would have he was so far out, he would have made it. And he turned around. He was like, there was a whistle. because he'd never been that far down the field untouched.
This isn't normal. That's funny.
And so in like in that moment, I was funny, and I look back on it though, and I go, these two kids, if we had taught them and built everything around them, not just getting to the second level, because they could do that. I mean, these kids were 4 yards a carry guaranteed. If we had built, but I mean, guaranteed. Like 3 yards, not happening. 5 yards, not happening. 4 yards every single play. If we had then built everything around, how do we make sure that they get to the third level and start focusing all of the blocking and all of the scheme and everything on that? What happens with these kids? Because to be honest with you, getting 4 yards a carry is awesome, knowing that they're going to get there because they hit the hole. But then we should have built everything around them getting the next one. And if you just I mean, think about it, guys. Think about it. What's the difference between, okay, let's say they have 20 carries. At 4 yards a carry, they have 80 yards. If 3 of those go for 10, they had 20 carries for 98 yards. If one of those goes for 20, it's a 100-yard game. If one of those goes for 65, it's a hell of a game.
Yeah.
20 carries for $150. I mean, like, now all of a sudden he's a very average 4 yard a carry back who has become, help me out, 7.5 yards a carry.
Yeah. Right. Because he can break 1 or 2 a game.
Yeah. Then so we get back to the original point. No NIL money, same kid, 4 yard a carry kid, 4 yards a carry, nice 7.5 yard a carry kid. Because you built around that.
I kind of go back to the way we opened the show. We were talking about the Mount Union head coach, Larry Karras, apparently, and his concept, which after some Googling, apparently Nick Saban took it as well. So you guys may be thinking, no, Coach Chambo, Nick Saban said that.
Okay.
He absolutely took it and said players, not plays. But it started with Larry Karras and his 11 national championships at Mount Union. But it's kind of
such a punk. What does he have, like 7?
Yeah. Not enough.
Come on,
not
dude.
Enough to be in the competition.
Come on, dude.
Even if you have a kid that's running the ball for 4 yards a carry, and that's a great play, and he hits it just right, everything you can do, but it's not the right guy getting the ball in any whatever scenario, you still haven't ran the best version of that play.
Sure.
So, and this is something that I saw very early in coaching, and I actually have to kind of restrain myself sometimes because I'll get carried away. But once again, you don't have to do this the way that it's always been done just because, right? Every time it's third down and greater than 3, you don't have to punt because everybody on earth punts. Okay. You don't have to kick it deep every single time to the fastest guy in the freaking county just because you watch every Saturday and Sunday, the ball almost always goes deep. You don't have to do it because everyone else is doing it. Put the ball in the hands of players that can do it. I told you earlier about, we'll run GT counter or GH counter with a wide receiver motion being the wrap guy or the kicker. Toss it to him and let him get behind the guard and tackle, pulling and wrapping. And see if that doesn't help things. Fake an outside zone away from the play. Now you've got backers stretching out for an outside run play, and you're hitting off tackle, B gap, A gap, however you coach it. We coach almost all of them back to A gap, but now you have a backside B gap play when they're all over pursuing an outside zone play away from it. Put the ball in the kids' hands that need it. And if your system can't do that, if it can't put your playmaker in position to get the ball in every situation, yes, the defense gets a say. They're going to double cover, triple cover, whatever, your best receiver eventually. I think you can still find a way, right? Put him in the dadgum backfield and let him and see if they can double cover him from a shotgun formation or an H-back formation. They're going to struggle. But you've got to figure out if you're struggling to get yards per carry, you might just be using the wrong kid. In high school, the thing you always have to get back to is just be +1 in the run game. Run the dadgum quarterback. You don't have to hand off the power play or zone or whatever. we mess with our mesh points a bunch. So we'll fake a handoff away from GT and then the quarterback runs it back. You talked about it earlier. Your fake toss away and then running it back behind. You can get there a ton of ways. Fake rocket toss. There's a 1,000 ways to kind of do that. Just find something you're comfortable with that you can tag up and open these plays up by getting the ball to the kids that need to be touching the ball. It's pretty well known in our offense that like the outside receivers aren't going to get the ball a lot. We're really working slot receiver to slot receiver and in any formation. We'll throw some go balls to keep defenses honest, but like we said on here, it's a 50-50 ball at best. If it gets batted down, I still made that defender think, man, I can't get up here in the run game because they'll throw it over my head. But we'll toss short passes to an H-back running back underneath to run counter away from. It's just we do fun stuff. But more than anything is we're getting the ball in the hands of guys that need to be carrying the ball. Without him always being in the exact same formation, the exact same spot where you can kind of get that tendency. So players over plays. You don't need to install another play. You just need to figure out how to get the ball to the playmaker in a little bit different look, a different position, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's ever coached a team where you're limited, you know that you've got, and I've never coached a team. I haven't coached many teams where we weren't. You know that you've got the guy out there that's out there and he's not getting the ball, but he's got a skinny number on. And you know that you've got the kid that you've just got to find a way to get the ball to him and create. I think the thing about plays is coaches will come in with new plays. And instead you should find different ways to run your plays. Always always advocate for your offensive line. Just that's the feature of it all, is how can you take care of your offensive line. But yeah, you can do so many things in the backfield and they're getting the ball. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like they'll figure the kids. You got one kid who's taking the snap and one kid who's giving the ball or he's keeping the ball, and like they'll figure it out. Like, don't go in and run. Now, let's say this: don't go in and randomly install double scissors. Like, you don't need extra handoffs, right? If that's your offense, fine, but don't install extra handoffs. If you don't, for like a trick play, that's fine. You're like, well, we're, you just like running some wacky blitz. It's like, well, this is, feast or famine. If we fumble it, yeah, we ran in a place where we knew if we fumbled it, it's okay. But don't just go in randomly and install extra handoffs. Like, the best are the quarterback fakes. Like, really and truly, the best are quarterback fakes where they do ball fakes and stuff happens and they never hand the ball to anybody else. They just go run with the ball.
I've been watching some film on single wing spinner series, and it's like, this is traditional. I'm talking, there's no quarterback.
Yeah,
there's a spinner back and a halfback.
Yeah,
and they even split the. I realize my hand is not in the right. They split the center. There's no one behind the center, right? They're both equally off of his hips.
That's the way we do ours. Yeah, we're supposed to, but we're not. That's not our primary offense. I've only had one team that can do it.
It's a lot of fun to watch. Anyway, single wings chaotic, but anywho, I think we checked all the boxes tonight, man. We've put a ton of stuff out there, understanding coaching the timing of a run play, how to adjust your existing run plays to kind of let them break out and become more efficient for you, and then finding those yards per carry without giving out NIL money, which is still the funniest. Let's hit our level ups real quick, Joe.
Man, we had I don't like to do the, my son thing every single week, but that was kind of my entire weekend. I was trying to think if there was anything else that I could go out with. But yeah, I mean, my wife went on a weekend sisters retreat and I had my son for the whole weekend. And we've had things where she was doing stuff and I go visit my dad, or, we were in the car, we're in the car for 12 hours of that. It's like, well, for the 12 of the 48 hours, because his dad lives 6 hours away. But yeah, we were just home and it was good. We had a good weekend. He is very into, the funny thing is, he's all of a sudden super into his G shirts, his Georgia shirts, even though he went to bed before kickoff, right, of the Texas game.
Right.
But he is just in time. He is super in, Dad can wear my G-shirt, and he knows Daddy's from Georgia, and he wants. So now he's got all of his G-shirts, and he says, "I'm not from however he says Virginia. It's not phonetically. That's not an easy word, Day, I'm not from Jenna anymore, or whatever he says. I'm from Georgia.
Virginia. Up there,
Yeah,
Virginia. He is from the
yeah.
South, isn't
He
he?
might be from Virginia. Yeah, he says, I'm from Georgia, and I said, well, we call it Georgia, but it's okay. We'll work on it.
Georgia.
So he's now he tells me he's not from Jenna anymore. He's from Georgia, and
From Georgia.
so he's working on it. But he missed the game, so like I don't even know where this came from. But he'll give me, and I say, okay, what do you say? He says, go Dogs. Okay, we're learning, but we had a good weekend. Good fun weekend together.
It's cool when they start, like, I remember, so our kids have been to a ton of OU games because we were season ticket holders for so long, but we thought, we do the one finger and it's, Boomer Sooner. And so like my kids will just randomly be like, Daddy, and then they instruct me every time because that's how old they are. So be like, Daddy, when I say Boomer, you say Sooner. And I'm like, okay, let's go, dude.
Got it.
Let's do this. But the OU, like I wear.
Yeah, I got a what's that coming down the track out of him the other day. That was about the best I could do. I couldn't even get the rest of it.
We wear a little bit of OU stuff, not like weird all the time, but he'll be like, "Oh, Dad, you got your OU shirt on." I'm like, "Yeah, I do, man." And he's just like, "I love it. Go Sooners!" And I'm like, "Ah, yes,
got him.
It's so good. It's so good. It's absolutely okay for the kid ones to be on here. I think as dads, like especially now that season's winding down, and I understand that you weren't doing the season thing this year, so you were a lot more family oriented. But that's what we are. I mean, that is kind of our level up, is watching these kids grow and learn and do the new cool thing. And I'll brag on mine as well. Our oldest is a second grader, and he went from not being able to read at a normal age to like all of a sudden he can read everything in front of him. And he actually, the funny part of this is he went through a phase where he would tell us he wasn't reading, but then he obviously knew what was on the TV or what was in a book or what. But no, Dad, I can't read. Because he went through this phase of like, if he didn't have to sound it out, passive reading wasn't a thing. He had to be actively sounding things out, or he didn't think he was reading. So that was kind of funny. But now he's reading like a Dickens, and he's got a ton of books. We've got him into a little bit of comic books, nothing crazy. We did Hulk. We're actually working through it a little bit together. What was it? It's not Civil War. Armageddon or something? I don't know.
There's Planet Hulk. Yeah,
There's Hulk. It's one where he's like mad at everybody because they killed his wife. But
Hulk's the one I've never gotten into.
He's always been my favorite. So I'm by no means am I a comic book guy. I don't know that I've ever completed a full comic book, but it's cool because my kid, like, I'm a Big Bang Theory. I love that show. So my kids see it and it's all about comic books. Now they're getting.
Well, that's on Nick at Night now.
No, that's crazy talk.
I was the other night, Saturday night, my son's here, and I'm just like flipping around or whatever. And I was like, it might have been Sunday, but I was like, Big Bang Theory is on Nick at Night. So Nick at Night now is Big Bang Theory and Friends. Big Bang Theory is like the time, because I'm like, when I was watching Nick at Night, it was Mr. Ed and My Three Sons and Donna Reed show. It's like, I'm like, the timing isn't right. Because that was probably 25, 30 years before when I was watching it. Like Big Bang Theory went off the air. Like, come on. I guess it is.
It's almost 10 years old.
The first season would be 20 years.
Yeah. It's around 05, I think, is when it started coming out.
And Friends is 25, 30 years. Yeah.
So anyway, so last year when he got done with first grade, he won the Math Master Award, which just meant in his class he was the best at math, which was pretty cool for us because he struggles in a few other places in life. He's socially he's just different. And this year it's the reading. And so we've been reading Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary every night. That's what we read. He's like, Dad, let's go read. In fact, he's probably waiting on me on the other side of the door. Dude, let's go read this book. Because we met Rocky, we met the alien. We're trying to see where this goes. Of course, I know because I read it, but he hasn't yet. Now I've just started giving the iPad to him. Like, he reads some of the story. I have to make sure it's not any of the sexual parts because that's in there, unfortunately. But I'll let him pick, and he's reading huge work, atmosphere, and I don't know, just other big words, which to us don't mean much, but a second grader it's pretty big stuff. To bring all this to an end, we got on ChatGPT the other night and we were having a conversation with it and just asking about, his reading levels at school. He tested super poorly because we think it's just he wasn't interested. So he was just like, nah, I'm not doing that. And almost purposely failed it because just to spite the teacher, which once again is part of his ridiculousness. And so we got to talking about like, here's what he's reading well. Like he's in the middle of this book, and they're like, ChatGPT was even like, oh yeah, this is like if he's reading it comfortably, that's like a 10th to 12th grade level, like reading level. Clearly, that's amazing for a second grader to be reading at that level. So,
Right.
and he got to hear it say that. So I think it will keep that interest of reading. Hopefully it doesn't do the opposite where he's like, well, no, I'm good. I don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But he's so intertwined in reading right now. So it's been really neat to watch him kind of come out of a shell of, Dad, I don't know how to read, to now it's like they're going to the library every week and get multiple books, and he wants to go to book fairs and buy books. And now we're probably going to get him a Kindle for Christmas because he just enjoys it. So yeah, it's really neat watching kiddos come around to there. So my level up is literally just him being awesome at his job, at his kid job, school
kid job.
There we go. All right. So that's it for this one. If any of this helped you, it'll probably help someone else. Please do share it with a coach that you respect or a young coach who's still kind of trying to learn the ropes, especially if you want them to be good at what they do. Tonight we talked about fixing running game struggles, the timing of a run play, adjusting your existing run plays to break out. I may have already done this recap, and I'm just reading the sheet here. Increase yards per carry without giving out NIL money.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Last week's topic was our team lacks leadership on the field. Some great conversation there. Go back and listen to it. There's a few episodes that have been my favorites. That's definitely up there somewheres. And then next week it's going to be we get killed by the screen game. It's big ways that we can assign responsibility for the screen. Quit yelling at your kids who are not responsible for screenplays to stop the screen. One last time, Joe, let's pay the bills. Let's get out of here, man.
Yeah, go check out a free guide for building your ultimate defensive system. It's available at footballdefense.com. If your defense isn't as good as you want it to be, you need to check on your system. Go to footballdefense.com, get that free download to build your ultimate defensive system. There's a short version.
Love it. Athletic Speed Movement. If you want fast kids, go to athleticspeedmovement.com. Sign up. Do the thing. 12 weeks, twice a week. You're going to get faster, more explosive, better at football. Do the thing. Which cells are opening and closing this? I think this comes out.
Thanksgiving.
It is Thanksgiving Day. Yeah.
We are in the middle of Football Coaching 101 series, Football Coaching Mastery, Football Coaching Coordinator Masterclass, which has been our best-selling course for the last few years. And we're adding in a little extra to it. It is a phenomenal deal if you jump on it right now. And it is a legitimate, coaching course, academy.
Yes.
I mean, it is just to run it down real quick. Football Coaching 101 is all the things that I think a football coach should know before they ever step on the field, but most of them don't. Football Coaching Mastery is what I would like an assistant who works for me to know. If an assistant who worked for me for 1 year, they should know that at the end of their first year. And it's the whole reason behind why the course exists is that I was a head coach and I had a couple of young coaches on my staff. And I got so caught up in all the things that go on for a football coach that I failed to teach them those things. And so most coaches don't know these things. Again, I talked about it before. It is the playbook design. It is the intricacies, the time. You want to talk about football, timing of a play. It's in that. The intricacies of coverages, front blitzes, the intricacies of run plays and pass plays and pass protection and everything. And then the third level is the coordinator masterclass. And that's for anybody who wants to put a headset on and call plays. It's all about all the things that really matter in calling plays. It's about how to use your plays, how to build your call sheets. It's about how to build your practice plans. It's about how to game plan. It's about how to study film, like a build your game plan from film. It's about how to organize your staff on game day so that you're not out there doing it alone. You've got everybody organized around you. But that's the coordinator masterclass. It is awesome. I'm not sure I've ever had anyone return it, honestly. It's awesome. It's literally awesome. It's 25 hours. Now is the time because you're going to want to invest now. But I don't know. It should be in your email inbox. I don't know what the link is. It's probably FBC 101, joeDanielFootball.com/FBC 101. I don't have a special link for it, but it should be in your email inbox if you're with us. But it's awesome. I probably the most proud. It's the most purposeful thing I've ever built. It was literally built to solve a problem in an area where I've completely failed, and I think that it did it.
I love it. That's true. Like you talked about getting caught up in the rigmarole of the season. It does happen. You kind of forget you're coaching kids every day. You forget to coach coaches.
Yes.
Social media wise, I'm at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter/X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. And then, of course, I got the YouTube going on. Joe, where are you at, sir?
I am Facebook.com/JoeDanielFootball is our Facebook page. At JoeDanielFootball on Instagram and TikTok. Info on the Twitter X, and Joe at JoeDanielFootball, and of course JoeDanielFootball.com.
If this is your first time listening to the Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on your favorite podcatcher, especially Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You've been listening for a while. Please do leave us a review on either of those. I was looking the other day. We're lacking in reviews on Spotify. So if you're on Spotify, please do jump over there. Leave us some reviews because it's the Joe Rogan effect. A lot of people are going to Spotify for their podcast. So definitely get over there and leave us some reviews.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll harass some people to leave some reviews on Spotify.
There we go. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. And remember, coach simple, play fast, win.